Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Pac-Man World Re-Pac. So we're finishing the factory this time. So, do you want to get back to what we were talking about off screen before we decided to start the part?
Yeah, let's not talk about Pac-Man and talk about Zelda instead. Man, did you guys actually think that they would do a Zelda game where you played as Zelda?
Well, I knew it was like it was only like a matter of time until they got so deep into the ideas bucket that they would have to give that another try. But like,
Well, people were expecting that for Tears of the Kingdom. I would think that the idea of a Zelda only game was in the cards for a long time. I just wasn't sure when they were going to pull the trigger on it.
I think that I find it what they did as a very clever solution, in that if you're going to do a game where you play as Zelda instead of Link, focusing the game on puzzle solving more so than combat definitely makes a lot of sense. And it looks like they were interested in implementing Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom style puzzle solving into 2D anyway. So being able to like use magic to make tables or make copies of enemies does definitely seem like a cool way to do it.
From what I remember, when they were concept developing Breath of the Wild, they actually did their first engine tests in top down anyway. So I guess this is just a logical thing for them to mess around with. But the I'm gonna have a love-hate relationship with this game when it comes out. I fucking know it, because I'm psyched to play I'm psyched to play a Zelda game where Zelda is the main character, of course, because you know that's just
Can you imagine a Zelda game?
Wait, we weren't playing as Zelda the whole time? I thought the green guy was Zelda.
But like, at the same time, they're clearly reusing the Link's Awakening remake engine because it's cheaper to do that, and they don't have confidence enough in the idea of a Zelda-led Zelda game where to just go all in on it from the start. So we won't get cool Zelda game.
That's definitely that. I mean, that's definitely a cynical take, I would say. I don't think it was a matter of.
It's also the only take that makes sense for what they did.
Well, I can agree. So I agree in halves here. I agree that they definitely, the cheaper part, absolutely.
Yes, I believe that.
I do think that the you know, for the tone that they're going for, the more cutesy art style definitely makes sense. And it's definitely, you know, a different. The gameplay that they're going for is definitely more out there than I would expect them to try to do for a 3D game. So again, going for a more cutesy art style, I think also works.
Going for a custom-tailored, more cutesy art style that wasn't just Link's Awakening remake again would make sense. Because, you know, for Zelda, you know, wisdom, grace, that kind of thing, a cutesy art style might make sense, but plastic toys doesn't.
I think it makes plenty of sense, because you literally, like, in some ways are playing Dollhouse. You know, you are using the environment to create a world exactly how you like. Like, toys is the perfect fit for that. You know, just like, oh, you made your super duper Ganon Ray. Oh well, in that case, I'm gonna use I have my own super duper Ganon Ray that's way better than yours.
My weapon of mass destruction has 6 mattresses.
You see, that would make sense for Princess Peach or maybe My Little Pony, but Zelda's a bit more mystical, and
it also depends. I would argue that depends greatly on the Zelda being referenced.
This is definitely going for, like, Link's Awakening Zelda, who we know nothing about. She lives in a dungeon and then lives in a church and then gets kidnapped again.
Also, Link's Awakening Zelda up until this game didn't exist.
Oh, sorry, I meant to say Link to the Past Zelda. How could I ever get those two names mixed up?
You know, even a Link to the Past style of Zelda would make a little bit more sense here. And if only they had a Link to the Past adjacent sequel that they could draw the art style from for that.
That was still pretty cute, though. You're talking about Link between
Yeah,
worlds.
it was pretty cute, but it wasn't plastic toys and plastic trees. And
It's still a cutesy.
I
though.
like. I mean,
My
I
problem-
like the
You can't
plastic.
tell
my
me it
problem
wasn't.
isn't that it's cutesy. My problem is that it's plastic toys.
I am not bothered by the toy aesthetic of Link's Awakening.
I
remake.
wasn't bothered by it in Link's Awakening. It made sense for Link's Awakening. It was a dream world.
So why wouldn't it make sense for this?
Because it's
fine.
not Link's Awakening.
It's an art. It's an art.
It's
style
not Link's
for a
Awakening,
2D
but you know,
Zelda
even
game.
in,
I think
but you know,
it's
even in
fine.
the footage that we have, it doesn't like completely fit what's going on. Okay, so like the basic item that they show for your item duplication shit is tables, right? But the table
Right.
graphic is the most like Unity store shit I've ever seen.
I was gonna say Minecraft-esque table and bed that you could possibly conjure up in that
like
world.
it doesn't even stand out in the plastic toy aesthetic that Link's Awakening did. It's like the most
Would you have settled for like a AK definition PNG of a realistic table?
well, I would at least like it to be in the kind of style where like the wood texture and stuff pops, you know. But
I think that they're definitely. I do agree that they're definitely downplaying the res on some of these things because they're expecting people to make like 50 tables and they don't want the game to chug.
well, there's that too, and I'm like 90% sure this game is also going to be released on the Switch too, so we'll probably get a slightly better looking version there. But it just doesn't really mesh all that well artistically. I really would have appreciated it if they'd workshopped a new style unique to this game instead of reusing the old one. I don't particularly care if it was if it skewed more cute than mystical, but it probably should have incorporated mystical aesthetics to some degree in order to fit with Zelda's character, you know? And, you know, to fit with the stuff you're doing in the game, since you're using a magic wand to duplicate enemies and objects all over the place, I would like to feel at least partially like a badass mage. It's like,
I mean,
you know,
you're probably going
I
to
think
be
that's
able to-
irrelevant. That's irrelevant to the art style, though. I would argue.
Yeah, I mean, you can feel like a badass in any art style.
well, I mean,
C
art-
point Kirby.
art style is a well, I never feel like a badass when I'm playing Kirby, but that's because Kirby is more of an asshole than a badass.
You don't see his angry eyes, man. He's so badass.
But like, my point is like art style emphasizes things, and the art style that they went with emphasizes the wrong things because it wasn't fit to purpose. And that is an issue for me with this particular game. But I'm so psyched for the game that they've designed mechanically, and just for the idea of playing a Zelda that like it's more love-hate than hate.
I think that's what at the end of the day everyone's really just like hyper focusing on is the idea that holy shit, we actually have a playable Zelda now in a Zelda
Yeah, I
game.
know. And when they see how well this idea does, why are you not picking up the cherry?
Because I'm trying to get the...
Pass Ryan can't hear you.
Yeah, past me can't hear you, but I'm also trying to get the metal dot first. So we need to
Why?
go back and get those anyway.
Because the metal dot makes him invincible, so he won't get hurt trying to hit it.
The cherry was right next to you. Never mind. Back to Zelda.
Focus, Lewis.
Like,
Focus.
when they see how well the idea does when it's actually at market, they'll probably do another Zelda game. They might even, God forbid, do a full-featured 3D Zelda game. Which would be neat.
I don't know. So here's the thing. Not disagreeing. I think that would be cool. I think that if they do that, they need to not be afraid to let Zelda do some of the stuff that Link does. Because I'm all for them being... I love that they took this in a different direction and didn't just make Zelda Link but girl. Like, that's great. I actually think that that's a really interesting way to make it interesting in a way that plays different than your traditional Zelda fare, on top of just, oh my gosh, I can play as Zelda.
But I feel it's important to remember, though, we're also assuming this game won't do that.
Well, no, the gameplay that they showed very clearly was like, Zelda does not have a sword. Instead, You will make a table.
But I
and
also
hit people
guarantee
with
you
tables.
everything that they've shown is maybe in the first hour of the game.
Oh, probably.
But
yeah,
you can still whack enemies with the wand as if it were a sword. So it's kind of
we
aesthetic.
we didn't ever see Zelda do that though.
I'm pretty sure.
I poked because I did a live reaction to that direct when the game was revealed, and I made a snarky joking comment saying that they're talking about how the game emphasizes puzzle solving and item creation to help like travel through the world, and I jokingly said that we're also going to add a sword and shield mode for all the busy whiny babies who are not ready for a more puzzle centric Zelda game. But I think about it, and nothing. We don't have any sort of like hard confirmation that Zelda won't do the Link shit at some point in the game.
I think that if they like, I mean, there's probably going to be like, oh, you'll get a magical pellet beam that will function a lot like arrows or whatever.
You basically copy enemies and summon them to attack for you.
Right.
But you have to be able to take enemies down in order to grab their little their little enemy multiplier tokens in the first place, so you can whack them with your wand. It's simple, it's basic, it works. I like it.
The bonk.
Yes. But like, what was I saying? What was I about to say? I had a thought. I lost it.
Toys.
No, I've already
toys
gone
are
over
back
that.
in town.
Art style.
I've already gone over my problem with that. But like, okay, like, I want to see a like full budget game as Zelda that has a style that emphasizes her specific aesthetic. I don't particularly care if it's the more lighthearted aesthetic that we see with her from something like
So I have to ask them because, again, we're talking about a series that has so many different incarnations of the main characters.
well,
So, like, but what kind of aesthetic or sense of mysticism that you keep going on about are you looking
well,
for?
I mean, there's
No, I don't. That's why I'm asking.
You've played more of this series. You've played more of this series than I do. You know what Ocarina of Time Zelda's like. You know what Twilight Princess Zelda's
Yeah,
like.
but is that?
You
But
know
that there's a difference between knowing what it is and is that your preference?
Well, I mean, okay, we've seen Zelda a lot in a variety of different styles. We've seen her in the Ocarina of Time style. We've seen her in the Twilight Princess style. We've seen her in the Breath of the Wild style, in which she has multiple different, like, outfits for different points in the plot that have different things going on. Breath of the Wild Zelda is probably the most diverse Zelda that we've gotten, because she's got road gear, she's got mystical princess magic powers robes, she's got her whatever she was doing in Tears of the Kingdom.
Is that your ideal Zelda?
I mean,
or is that
'cause
the
that's
kind of
the-
Zelda you want to see get their own
Because
game?
like Ocarina, you mentioned Ocarina of Time Zelda and Twilight Princess Zelda. Those Zeldas don't do anything. Like, I never got mystical from them.
They don't know. Those Zeldas have a very small part in the plot, yes, but they do have
You want a Zelda DMC game where Sheik is the
they
devil
do
trigger.
have. Well, that's just Smash, but. Look, but they have a very clearly defined aesthetic, and I'd like to see that, brought out in a game where Zelda is the main character and does stuff. That would be nice. Breath of the Wild Zelda is the most like clearly defined one, because she has multiple different aesthetics going, and each of them corresponds to something that she does prominently within the game, even if it's all relegated to flashbacks, because fuck you, Nintendo.
I don't know. I like the standard Zelda that we see a lot of the time in the main games, because I'm thinking about it. I haven't played Skyward Sword, where it's kind of implied that Zelda does stuff, but it's all off screen, because again.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, I got my problems with Skyward Sword. I've made that very clear. I love that incarnation of Zelda, though.
Yeah, and that's another one that I could probably point to as an example of what I'm talking about. Clearly defined aesthetic, clearly defined character, you know,
personality and that sort of shit. The romantic, that's not the romantic relationship, but like just a relationship between her and
like having
Link
a real
in that
character.
game,
I think is important because like most of them don't have a real character.
oh hey, it's Pac-Man Jr. or Pac Boy.
No, he's Pac Boy.
Yeah, because then, like you can argue in previous games, she's not really a character; she's a trope.
Yeah,
she's a princess.
That's kind of at the heart of what I'm trying to get at right now. The issue with Zelda as she stands is that she is often there more as an idea than as an active participant in the story. A game that is about Zelda gives her a chance to be an active participant in the story, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the tropes attached to her need to disappear or be downplayed. They can be emphasized in a way that is about them instead of just an accessory to some dude's sword adventure, you know?
And that's what I was saying before, is I thought they were doing a great job with that, with the gameplay mechanics that they chose.
Yeah. And so I would appreciate it if, like, the aesthetic style of the game emphasized that, rather than toys.
Clearly, the 3D Zelda game should be a pirate game starring Tetra. And this.
Oh, you took what I was about to say, you son of a bitch.
You can't prove it.
You know, I'd play it, but it would still feel more like a Tetra game than a Zelda game.
I mean,
they're the same person.
If she's anything like in Hyrule Warriors, it would actually kind of not be fun, because Tetra's among the worst characters in Hyrule Warriors, sadly.
Yeah. It's like, you know, if they did a Sheik game, it would be more of a Sheik game than a Zelda game. It's the same thing with Tetra. Not that I wouldn't play either of those games, I would, and I would enjoy it, but I'd like to have a proper Zelda game with a proper Zelda aesthetic. That's all. At least the soundtrack is probably going to be all new. Hopefully they nail that.
I was mentioning this in our discussion in our like text chat earlier, and we're eventually going to do this game, so I don't want to like steal too much from that, but I'm much happier with what they did with this than what they did with Princess Peach getting her own game. And I mean, I only played like the demo of Princess Peach Showtime, and I found it pretty boring, all things considered. I didn't really like it all that much, and it just kind of felt like they didn't really know what to do with Princess Peach as a character, so they kind of just played into like the kind of dress up trope a little bit, which I mean,
girls dream of being in show business, so we'll make a game about this girl who's in show business.
I mean,
profit.
I guess. And I mean, the game might be better than that. I only played the demo, but I think there is more to draw off of with Zelda than with Peach, so that also has something to do with it. But
well, I mean, in theory, in practice, Peach has done more in the Paper Mario games than Zelda has in her entire history. But, you know.
I mean, granted, yes. I honestly think, like, you could probably make a pretty cool Peach action platformer where she uses all of the, like, where it's just like Peach is tired of her bullshit, and then she just grabs all of the different sports gear she uses as the Mushroom Kingdom's leading female athlete, and then just kicks ass by hitting people with golf clubs and baseball bats.
Well, look, while that would be more compelling than emotion powers, I don't necessarily think that with characters like Peach and Zelda, the first thing you reach for should be done with the bullshit, because that just plays into a different stereotype.
Granted, point, yes, but I also like the idea of playing more into what Peach has done in the spin-offs and whatnot, you know? Like, because Peach has done a lot of shit, you know? She's a star baseball player, tennis player, golf player.
She's a busted white mage in RPG.
And a professional umbrella-based levitation professional, but, yeah.
She doesn't even need an umbrella. She can just, like, I don't know what they put in that dress in order to have her defy gravity, but, you know.
What we need is a Princess Peach Mary Poppins crossover, where we find out that Mary Poppins was Princess Peach's mentor all along.
This sounds really stupid.
Well, anything involving Mary Poppins is inevitably really stupid, but that doesn't mean it's not gonna be fun.
Does that mean that they're eventually going to release a movie about how Disney was right to change all of the things about Princess Peach because Disney's always right about
Oh, I
everything he does?
hate that movie so much.
What?
So there's a movie. So Mary Poppins was a book before it was a movie, and
And the author was kind of a bitch.
yeah, I mean, but she also famously hated many of the changes that Disney made.
She only went along with them because she needed the money really badly.
Yeah, and then they made a movie about that where Tom Hanks plays Walt Disney, and it effectively is like
It's like watching the entire story really badly.
Yeah, you know.
What
Yeah,
is it with Tom Hanks and starring in really bad satire pieces with controversial opinions at their core?
I mean, they get Tom Hanks whenever you need a character to be like the paragon of goodness. The only man you can hire to pull it off successfully is Tom Hanks, real life paragon of goodness. So, like, I get that. Because didn't they get Tom Hanks to do Mr. Rogers too?
Yeah, they did.
They also
Yes.
got him to do that horrible D&D movie, which is what I was thinking of.
To be
Yeah,
fair,
but that
back
was when
in
he
the
was
80s.
in like his 40s. So you know, like
40s. No, he was in like his early 30s at that point.
Oh wow, okay, yeah.
That was an 80s movie.
Oh, okay. Anyway, what was the point? All right, yeah, Tom Hanks can do no wrong, and
So anyway, moral of the story, I think the toy style in the Zelda game is fun.
yeah, bringing it back to Toy Story, where Woody's played by Tom Hanks.
It's fine, but Zelda
Shut up,
deserves
Lois.
more than
Shut up.
fine.
Part's over, Lewis. Part's over, Lewis. I win.
Tom Hanks should voice Zelda in the new video game. There we go.
I'd play it.